Chapter 3, Pastel Analysis, Political and Legal Factors. In this chapter, we start to discuss the Pastel analysis. It includes different factors or external factors in analyzing the business environment of a company. And in this chapter, we have 5 topics. First, we will discuss what is Pastel analysis. And next, we share with you political system and government. And it is followed by principles of data protection. We will discuss more on this topic. And then is the rights of data subjects. The last topic in this chapter is data security, which is a very hot issue in the current business environment. Let's begin with the topic on what is Pastel analysis. A Pastel analysis is a framework or tool used to analyze and monitor external factors that may have a profound impact on an organization's performance. It is the official definition of Pastel analysis, and the key here is external factors. It is very important for all of us to know when should we use Pastel analysis in the business environment preparation or business analysis. As I said, this tool is especially useful when starting a new business or entering a foreign market. In other words, Pastel analysis is analyzing the external factors for a company or an organization to start a new business or go into a foreign market. Here we have 6 different external factors under the Pastel analysis model. First, political. We would like to use an example of a transportation company to show how these 6 external factors are affecting a transportation company. If the first factor is political, say the fuel tax or congestion charges in the cities, all these political factors are affecting the business of a transportation company. Maybe negative on the way, say. On the other hand, if the government would like to build new roads to connect 2 cities in a country, it helps to improve the overall congestion, and the transportation company is benefit because it has new roads for transporting goods or delivering goods from one city to another. It can increase the business. Next, economic. If the economy is going down or a so-called downturn, then it would result less trade. For a transportation company, it means less business. Another economic factors affecting a transportation company is the fuel cost or the fuel price. If the oil price is moving upward, then the transportation company will have severe impact because a lot of energy consumption is the fuel cost. Fuel price increase, it means the cost increase and the profit will be reduced. Third is social. If the public is concerning about safety, lorries in the transportation company may be banned because of the public concern. The banned area, say in the school zone, will limit or restrict the traffic of lorries. To a transportation company, it means that it has limited choice of routes connecting from one city to another. The outcome will be, for example, to travel from one city to another by another route, which causes higher fuel cost to the company. Then it is a social impact on the transportation company. The fourth external factor is technological. in a transportation company in the past, there's no software and no clouding. It means that the connection between drivers and the headquarters is just use the mobile phone or just use the old school way or the radio for communication. But in the development in new or brand new route planning software, it helps the transportation company to plan well on their route from one destination to another. It helps to improve the overall efficiency and saving the fuel costs, for example, and saving the time of driver as well. It helps to improve the efficiency and the cost. Then the technological improvement is another factor to a transportation company in this PESTEL analysis. The fifth factor under this PESTEL analysis is environmental. A lot of people right now is concerning about the fuel consumption that is harmful to our environment, more carbon dioxide emission. It means that the global warming is another factor affecting our lives. So they propose to limit the fuel consumption. For a transportation company, it has to consider whether they can move from the traditional fuel-powered engine to a electric vehicles. That means it is more environmental friendly, that the environmental group will not be against them. Last but not the least, the legal factor. Legal factor is highly related to the political factor, because when the political party, they will have some new legislation for the nation or for region. So it is one of the important factors for a transportation company if there's any new legislation saying banning the fuel consumption or high fuel consumption vehicles or trucks. That will limit their choice of vehicles in running their business. So for PESTEL, it stands for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. And be remembered, all these what we discuss are external factors. Sometimes students will mix up or confuse between this PESTEL analysis model with another. And this model is only concerning about external factors. Let's move on to the political system and governance. First, we define what is a political system. A political system is a set of institutions, political organizations, and interest groups, such as lobby groups, and the relationship between them, and the rules and norms that govern their functions, such as law or constitutions. It is the definition of a political system, and under the political system there are three levels that we will discuss with you. First, the global level. When we talk about political systems, it can be divided into three levels. The top or the most senior level is global level, such as World Trade Organization, European Union legislation, and that's all about the global. Any company in the world, they should comply with the rule or legislation, say under the World Trade Organization, or any companies under the European Union has to follow the EU legislation. National. Another levels of political system is national level, say national government policy. We will discuss about government policy later to show how the government policy will affect an organization. And the lowest level under these political systems is the local government, say local government departments or local community councils. All these are the lowest level that affects maybe part of the companies, but for many community business, their concern is mainly on local government policy or legislation. So here is another level for many companies have to consider. And then we move on to talk about the sources of legal authority. So what are the sources of legal authority? First, supranational. So it includes the United Nations resolutions, the UN resolutions, International Court of Justice, and here we see the European Parliament and also European courts. All this is not just a nation. We talk about the supranational across different countries or nations. And next, national. Within a country, the national legal authority includes, let's say, the parliament. Okay, many national governments through acts of parliaments to have the legal legislation in a country, and also the senior courts, say in United Kingdom and USA, they have the Supreme Courts, and some major courts as well. They have the principles in case law, also setting the precedents. All these are national level of legal authority that many organizations have to bear in mind. Any new law or legislation will affect their business. And regional. For regional, say in UK, like we have the regional government, and in USA we have the federal government as well. In US, we have different states, and different states have their own state law. Maybe they are different with the other states, even within the same country. In some local councils, they have some bylaws. So the use of bylaws will affect a business operation in a particular area in a country. So governments. The governments can affect organizations in two major ways. Okay, first, the government policy. There are so many examples of government policy, and we will discuss later. And next is direct legislation. It means that the government can propose the legislation in the parliament and approve it, and then all members in the countries has to follow or to comply. Now, let's move on to discuss some of the government policies. The first government policy that we discuss is housing. Housing policy is one of the major government policies for many countries' governments. One example is a new housing development plan approved by the government, and it can give a lot of opportunities to house building firms and related construction companies as well. It will create new communities that will demand jobs, leisure facilities, and it gives a lot of opportunities for firms in these industries. Next, government policy can drive the crime rate for a country. If the government decides to have more monitoring facilities or devices in town or in the city, it affects the firm specializing in security device. It may boost up the demand for those devices. Next, education policy. For education policy, it can affect the availability of suitable potential employees for firms. One example is the government decide to set up a funds for the individuals to apply in order to subsidize their education fee. it helps to improve the overall skills in the population. And also it affects the education industry, because for those education service provider, they can be benefit from this government policy change. The defense policy. Defense policy is primarily affecting arms manufacturers. An example is a military base closed. It affects the people or the local suppliers around the military base, because they are losing jobs maybe, and also for local suppliers to the military base will be affected by losing business. And healthcare policy. For healthcare policy, it has obvious implications for drugs and equipment manufacturers, and sometimes for private hospitals as well. If a government decides to increase its budget in the healthcare sector, it means that more money will be spent or invested in drugs development, for example, the research and development, in the medical equipment provided to the clinics or private hospitals. For those equipment manufacturers, they will be benefit for this government policy. For energy, it is a very hot topic in recent years, because many governments decide to change the fuel consumption from the traditional, say, oil consumption right now to electric consumption or any other sustainable energy source. The change in the government policy in respect to the energy sector, the energy sources will be critical to power generators. A lot of new business arise, say the battery charging services, but some business will be disappeared, say some gas station. There's no need to have so many gas stations in a town or in a city, because many cars are changed to electric car. For environmental, the greenhouse gas emissions right now is another environmental issue discussed by different parties in the community. If the government policy shifts to reduce the gas emissions, some manufacturers will be affected because they are using the old way or the traditional way for the power generation. And for farming policy, food is one of the key concerns for governments, and government would support the farming industry by subsidizing farmers. It helps to lower the food price. And if government changed its policy in subsidizing the farmers, say it reduced the subsidies provided to the farming industry, the consequence maybe to the food suppliers is to increase the price charged to the customers, and also the business will be affected. Next, town planning. A national plan to build a new roads connecting two cities will have significant impact to the business location. Business owner will think whether to move to close to the new roads because it can save some of the fuel cost. On the local firms levels, it needs to obtain planning permission to build a new factory for a manufacturer, or even you are a business owners for the small shops or grocery shops. Probably you need to have the permission from the local government on opening new shops or build new houses. Next, domestic. A government may use regional development grants to attract new employers to areas of high unemployment. It means that government can subsidize the business owners
to employ or to hire more people in an unemployed area or high unemployment rate area to attract more investment. The next government policy is foreign policy. Protectionism is one key area in government policy in many countries. It limits the trade activity between two countries if there is any protectionism of a country, say a government policy is the focus. So we have all these examples shared with you about the government policy. And next topic is direct legislation. Governments can affect organizations by direct legislation. Organizations must comply with appropriate legislation. If an organization fails to do so, it could result in fines, closure, bad publicity, or even loss of customers. So for many industries, they have specific legislation that they have to comply with. One example is food product. For food product, there's a food labeling law governing the food industry. If your business is in the food industry, you have to follow the specific legislation for this industry by the government. Now move on to the question. There are two statements. Consider whether they are all correct, or only one of them correct, or neither is correct. The first statement is senior courts are a source of supranational authority. And the second statement is legislation and policy can both be used by governments to affect organizations. In this class, we discuss legal authority with three levels: supranational, national, and regional. So, whether senior courts should fall in supranational or not. And the next is about the government. Governments can affect organizations in two major ways. So after this class, you can name which two ways the government can affect organization. Then you can answer this question based on our discussion.